Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're unpacking something pretty incredible. We're looking at Norman Vincent Peale's legendary manual for a truly satisfying life, best known as The Power of Positive Thinking. But look, we're not just going to talk about vague, fluffy optimism here. No, we're breaking down Peale's actual system of what he called applied Christianity. He designed this whole thing as a highly practical, step-by-step method to literally release your inner power and crush everyday defeats.
But before we get into the nuts and bolts, let me ask you something. Do you ever feel just constantly stressed out, struggling to sleep, or maybe you feel like your mind is just racing with tension all the time? Well, if so, you are definitely not alone. Peale actually coined a perfectly relatable term for this exact feeling decades ago. He called it the aspirin age. He was diagnosing this societal burnout where people had literally forgotten how to relax. And his entire system, it was built to be the ultimate antidote to this modern epidemic.
Okay, let's dive into this. Because what's absolutely crucial to understand right off the bat is that Peale didn't just preach from some disconnected ivory tower. Not at all. He actually treated his church in New York City, the Marble Collegiate Church, as his laboratory of spiritual experience. He viewed spiritual techniques as actionable mechanics. He was literally testing these formulas on real people to solve real everyday problems. Basically, he was treating faith like a practical science to release constructive energy for your daily life.
Section 1, the power of attitude.
This is where Peale makes a really radical comparison. He argues that your attitudes are actually way more important than your facts. Now, usually, we think of facts as these fixed, unchangeable realities, right? Like maybe a hopeless financial situation or a personal failure. But Peale flips that entirely. He argues that a confident, positive thought pattern can actually modify or even completely overcome those external realities. So changing your life, in his view, requires a total renewing of the mind. Your attitude has to dictate your reality, not the other way around.
Section 2, dynamic laws of belief. Peale knew that the absolute biggest obstacle to a confident attitude is the dreaded inferiority complex. It just eats away at you. So to beat it, he instructed people to literally overflow their minds with faith. It's all about repetition and absolute saturation. He championed one specific affirmation: I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me. By just constantly repeating this over and over, he believed you build up this humble but reasonable confidence in your own powers. It just completely drives out those deep-seated feelings of inadequacy.
Now, what's really interesting here is how Peale illustrates this power of expectation with the amazing anecdote of the slattered bat. So there was a situation where baseball players actually started hitting significantly better. Why? Simply because they were told, and they truly believed, that their bats held some special power. Peale argued that expecting the best literally sets magnetic forces into motion. If you sustain an expectation of success, you're magnetically drawing that success right toward you. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy on overdrive. And you know, that magnetic expectation applies directly to your daily joy too, because in Peale's framework, happiness is absolutely not an accident. And it's definitely not based on your external circumstances. It's an active daily habit. He recommended personalizing Psalm 118:24 every single morning the second you wake up. I will rejoice and be glad in it. You literally have to choose happiness as a habit before your feet even hit the floor in the morning.
Section 3, formulas for mental control. Central to this whole mental toolkit is how Peale completely redefines prayer. He didn't see prayer as just passive wishing. He saw it as a structured release of spiritual energy. He developed this really brilliant three-point prayer method. Step 1 is prayerize, meaning weave prayer directly into your daily routine actions. Step 2 is picturize. Hold a very clear, highly specific mental image of a successful outcome right in your mind's eye. And step 3 is actualize. Allow that deeply visualized result to manifest in reality. It's basically a highly structured visualization technique completely wrapped in faith. But here's the catch. You can't fill your mind with positive visualizations if it's already crammed full of anxiety. Peale completely recognized that worry is a massively destructive mental habit. In fact, he claimed it was so destructive it could actually cause psychosomatic physical ailments, things like arthritis. To break this, he prescribed what he called mental catharsis. This means actively, imaginatively draining your mind of fears, hates, and regrets at least twice a day. You've got to empty the vessel before you can fill it with faith, right? To take this a step further and really combat the intense tension of the aspirin age, Peale champions what he called an easy-does-it attitude. He loved sharing Eddie Rickenbacker's 3-step formula for easy power. Step 1, physical collapse. Just completely letting go of all muscular tension. Step 2, mental drainage, emptying the mind, just like we were just talking about. And step 3, spiritual thinking, filling that newly cleared space with faith. He paired this with the 2-minute rule for starting new habits, proving that relaxation isn't just zoning out, it's an active, intentional discipline.
Section 4. Healing and social relationships.
And this brilliantly illustrates Peale's really balanced approach to overall well-being, because he absolutely didn't dismiss doctors. Instead, he argued for a powerful combination of God and the doctor. He said medical science treats the physical body, while spiritual science is required to heal diseased thoughts, things like guilt, anger, and deep resentment. Because he believed so many maladies were psychosomatic, he insisted that true healing requires treating both the physical symptoms and the mental root causes simultaneously. Speaking of diseased thoughts, anger is definitely one of those toxic emotions that can inflict real physical damage. So Peale offered a specific, rapid-fire technique for stopping anger dead in its tracks. To cool off instantly, he told people to stop whatever they're doing and immediately repeat the first 10 words of the Lord's Prayer. It acts like a mental circuit breaker. It's literally designed to interrupt a destructive emotional spike before it can take a physical toll on your body. And naturally, this kind of emotional control dramatically improves your social relationships. Peale deeply understood the fundamental human desire to be liked. His formula for becoming what he called a comfortable person is all about being easy to be with. It means actively practicing the art of building up the egos of others and making it an absolute rule to never deflate people. By constantly projecting positive energy onto the people around you, you naturally become a magnet, drawing people right towards you.
Now, when it comes to actually tackling complex external problems, Peale offered a really comprehensive 10-step plan. The highlights: you start by listing the facts completely objectively, then you pray for illumination, trust your intuition, and deeply conceive of God as an active business partner. He famously anchored this concept with the story of Maurice and Mary Alice Flint. They used this exact mustard seed faith to turn personal failure into a wildly successful business. It's all about merging highly practical action with deep spiritual partnership.
Section 5, a philosophy of deathlessness.
Peale actually carried his positive, faith-filled framework all the way to the ultimate concept of mortality. He held this really deep conviction that life is indivisible and that death is absolutely not an end. He believed the cemetery is strictly for mortal remains, while the human spirit just continues nearby and what he called a higher frequency. Drawing on some of his own mystical experiences and early scientific interest in parapsychology, he offered this as a profound comfort, the idea that our loved ones are truly never lost to us. Peale leaves us with this incredible, vivid image. The higher power is an available tide of force. He stressed over and over that simply reading about these concepts just isn't enough. You have to persistently practice them. So the question I want to leave you with today is this: are you willing to actively experiment in your own laboratory of spiritual experience? Because if this tide of force is truly available right now to drive out tension, sickness, and defeat, what's stopping you from tapping into it today? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.